This one habit pretty much changed my life. Even after I stopped, it left a completely different worldview. I was just a much happier person for it, genuinely much happier. I started doing it when I was about 16, and I only did it for about 6 months. Years later, it has still had an incredibly lasting impact on my life. Let me explain. When I was 16, I was super into productivity routines, and I was just looking at all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that a lot of people talked about at the time was how you should do gratitude journaling. And I was trying all kinds of stuff. I was trying to sleep less, sleep more, polyphasic sleep, whatever, you name it. And so I started including journaling because this is something that people told me was good. Specifically, I think I listened to Andrew Huberman at the time, and he said something about this. I came across this habit, which was that at the end of the day, you had to write down 3 things that you enjoyed about your day, that you were grateful for about your day, but it had to be specific moments. It wasn't enough to be like, oh, I enjoyed the food and shelter over my head or whatever. It had to be specific. It was like, I really enjoyed looking at this particular tree on my walk, to school. I was in school at the time. I really enjoyed this bus ride, or I really enjoyed this workout that I had at the gym. And you had to think specifically through your whole day, pick 3 moments. And so at the end of the day, you go through the day and you think about it because you have to reflect to pick out those moments. And because I was into these whole routines, I just did it because I heard, Huberman say it and on some podcasts, and I was like, great, I should do it. I just did it for the sake of it, even though I felt no change in my experience of life for a few months. Nothing changed. I just kept doing it because that's what I was into at the time, trying all these different routines. And about 4 or 5 months in, something really interesting started to happen, which was at that point, I realized that I had started to look out for these moments in life that I was enjoying or grateful for, because I knew I had to write them down later in the day. So I had conditioned my brain to look for them because I knew that I was going to need to think about them later in the day, right? If you know that you're going to have to do something every day, your brain gets ready for it. What this left as an imprint on my brain was this habit of looking out for the special moments that I enjoy a little bit more. And about 6 to 7 months after I started, I ended up stopping because I did some travels and I completely lost the habit. And I think that's one of the worst, decisions that I made, but I lost it. Shit happens. And then I didn't actually get back to it. I tried to restart it a few times, but, I wasn't serious enough. But nonetheless, the way that retuned the way I look at the world was really profound in the way that, I think nowadays I'm able to pick out these moments so much more easily. And it doesn't happen as much as it used to, because I think before it was really on autopilot. As a 17-year-old kid, I was somehow one of the most content people or versions of myself that I had been in my life. And that was really something interesting to me. I didn't have particularly more or less, it wasn't about material possessions or achievements or anything like that. It was this inherent contentness in small everyday things. And I wasn't less hungry for it. I wasn't less ambitious. I was still an incredibly ambitious person, and I wanted to do all these things, and I always wanted to be involved in so many projects and all this shit. But I was fundamentally content. I think that was a really interesting kind of habit to undertake. And I really think it's worthwhile to try. I'm getting back to it. And I know that I've tried before and it hasn't worked, but that's no reason not to try again, especially when I know how much of a difference that it did make. And I think on the good days, sure, it's fine. I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference. I think in time it does, but on the bad days is when this stuff makes the biggest difference. And just thinking about it in your head or writing it on your phone, that doesn't count. It has to be intentional. You have to sit down and think about it. And when you do that and you do it repeatedly for 100 days on end, I think that's when you start to see results. That it is one of the most profoundly impactful habits that I have ever come across. Perhaps more than exercise even, because I think it creates a permanent shift in your state of mind. And I would love to share that with as many people as possible. I think, not a lot of people will watch this or care or even try, but for the small handful that do, it will, I think, make such a big difference if they actually put themselves to it. Yeah. Anyway, I was thinking about it because, I was doing that just now, writing some things that I've been enjoying today. 3 things. 3 things makes it very easy. Not too many, not too few. And yeah, I think it's a cool habit to share with the world. So I hope this is useful. Give it a try. It's really worth it.